Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. I'm just going to get straight into it today. Today we are going to be doing a Season 24 Pre-Tinkaton tier list. Now I haven't done one in a while, so I figured, hey, why not do one now? There was a huge balance patch that came out. There was a lot of little changes, so I'm just curious. Where do you think everyone sits right now? Let me know in the comments and let me know after you see my own opinions. First up, we have the all-arounders, but of course there are some little Pokemon of interest, such as Psyduck, such as Darkrai, you know, all the more newer Pokemon that we know are kind of wreaking havoc, but we will get to them when we get to them. So again, first off, we have our all-rounders, and first up on the topping block, we have Aegislash. But before we go into that, let's go over the tiers that we got. So at the very, very top, we have the Throne, the King of Unite, the person who, or the Pokemon that is doing the absolute best and is just dominating the meta right now. And right underneath that, we have Stupendous choices, Pokemon that fit so well in the meta that you're always happy to see them on your team. Right underneath that, we have Amazing, always good Pokemon, always nice to see. They perform pretty well, but not as good as our Stupendous, but still super solid choices. And then right underneath that, we have B+, B, and B-. Now, the reason I've split it up into 3 different categories is just because there are so many Pokemon, and I'm wanting to kind of differentiate them a little bit more from each other, and which ones are performing better, which ones are worse, instead of just all chucking it into the one tier and saying they're all equal. I want to try and be a bit more specific with how I think they are performing right now. And then at the very bottom right here, we have the C tier, and we have the Don't You Dare tier. Now, C tier is just Pokemon that aren't really doing too great, and there's other Pokemon that kind of do the same thing and are just really outshone by them. And then right at the bottom here, Don't You Dare. These are Pokemon that are currently struggling a lot right now in the current meta. Again, this tier list isn't saying, like, let's say if we were to put, I don't know, like Tyranitar. If Tyranitar's in the Don't You Dare tier, I'm not saying you cannot perform well with this Pokemon. All I'm saying is that, I don't know, maybe Garchomp is just a better version than Tyranitar. You know, those are just examples. Of course, they're not accurate examples, but examples nonetheless. So before we get into it, or actually, let's just get straight into it. I've explained everything we need to know. So first up on the chopping block is, of course, Aegislash. Now, Aegislash is an interesting Pokemon. He hasn't had any changes in a while. However, this tier list is putting them into the... It's more going to be of a solo queue tier list as well, I would say, instead of a full comp. But I'm going to be taking both into consideration and just how the Pokemon is generally. So with Aegislash here, he does have a relatively high skill ceiling, I would say. Being able to switch between your sword form and your shield form and dishing out damage and tanking damage. But I feel as though he's a little bit lackluster in comparison to some of the other Pokemon right now that are, 1, easier to play, and 2, generally just perform better. So for now, I'm going to put Aegislash in, I might put him in the B- tier for now. But of course, all of this is subject to change as we continue going out, so he might be stuck there, might not be. But without further ado, let's move on to the next Pokemon, which is Phalanx. Now, Phalanx has been struggling for quite some time. Not saying this Pokemon isn't bad per se, but his gimmick makes it so certain Pokemon just absolutely destroy him. Like Extreme Speed Lucario, Giga Drain Venusaur, all those kind of Pokemon with a lot of AoE attacks can really just kind of diminish him. So for right now, I feel as though Aegislash is better than Phalanx as well. But I might put Aegislash up in B for now, and I put Phalanx in the B-. He might even fall down to C. But we'll just have to wait and see. But next up, well, yeah, I think I'll put Phalanx in the C for right now. But next up, we have Garchomp. Garchomp had a nerf, which kind of sucked. He's less of a chainsaw. His Earthquake Dig build isn't as good anymore. But the Dragon build is really the main thing you want to be going for. But he's really good at ripping objectives. He's extremely good at pushing on lane if done well. With, like, let's say like he's tied with a Comfey or something, or just like another support. He can just shred on goal and really help push that. Only thing is he like kind of struggles to chase sometimes. Again, the Dragon Rush build can of course help with that. but there are a lot of instances early game where people can just like walk away from him if they have like E speed, X speed, or like they're a speed so they have good movement options. But genuinely, I think Garchomp is still in a relatively good position, so I'm going to put him in the B+ tier for now. I certainly think he's better than Aegislash, both early game and later, because he's very good at like tanking, he's very good at dishing out a lot of damage, extremely good at ripping objectives. Those are all the strengths that he kind of has, as well as his sustain and the buffs that we had to Muscle Band and Rapid Fire Scarf all those ages ago. Like, that still works really well for him. So yeah, I'm gonna put him in the B+ tier for now. Next up, we have Cerulege. Cerulege is still really, really, really good. He's tanky, he can dish out a lot of damage, has a super good Unite move that can cause a whole stun unless you have like full heal or something, or a Wigglytuff. He's a really good jungler. He's also really good at ripping objectives by himself. He's just really good, and both builds are kind of situational too. Like, Phantom Force is very good for outplaying, Flame Charge is good for a dash. Like, he can play multiple different kind of styles, but I do think Bitter Blade is getting more of the love right now. Not Bitter Blade, Psycho Cut, because that again is also really good at ripping objectives. But I'm gonna have to put Cerulege in amazing. Cerulege is still really good even after some of the nerfs that he got a while back, but yeah, he's really good. Next up we have, we'll go Zarina. We'll talk about Zarina. The buffs that Zarina got were really, really nice, right? To both Grassy Glide and Trop Kick, the shield increase is super nice, and then the triple axle damage increase is also really good. Ooh, this is tricky. Zarina has a lot of movement. It can be really aggressive. It can chase people really well. Its Unite move can disable people, unless of course they have Unstoppable or something. I might put earlier I probably would have put Zarina in like the B tier, but I think the changes have made it slightly better. Probably not in an amazing choice, but maybe. Oh man, I'm gonna have to compare it to other Pokemon later, but for now I'm gonna put it in the B+ tier, slightly above Garchomp, I think, because its early game is also really strong. Razor Leaf has really good secure and deals a lot of damage, as well as like if you're running like double stacking and like weakness or something like attack weight, razor, weakness, things like more of that really offensive kind of playstyle that you have with Zarina, it can just perform really well. I would definitely play it mostly in lane, but it can definitely rip in jungle, similar to Garchomp. But I mean, like, with Aegislash, you kind of have to play it in jungle. Cerulege, you can play it either or because it's really good. And then same with these two. Like, Phalanx is just sad because of the kind of gimmick it has, but I think Zarina is in a very good spot right now. Next up, we have Tyranitar. Now, Tyranitar is interesting. He's in a bit of a rough spot right now because there's a lot of Pokemon that kind of outshine. He takes ages to get online. He's alright in the lane, but then like you compare him to other jungle choices like Mimikyu or Blaziken or Zacian or Cerulege, and it's kind of like, why would you want your Tyranitar to go jungle? Like, he has decent chase, right? He can deal decent damage. The main thing that he's really good at is like submarine tactics, right? Where he can dive in, deal a lot of damage like Sand Tomb or whatever over time. He's good at defending against Ray Shield, but I mean, he just kind of gets destroyed. It feels like he's just not really that tanky, honestly. Like, if you put him up against a Garchomp, that Tyranitar's dead. You put him up against Cerulege with a support next to it, that Tyranitar's dead. Like, Tyranitar can deal good damage, and like his Unite move's good, being able to have like that point where it just executes them, but I don't think he's performing too well right now, just because of how steep his level curve is. Ugh. I think I'm gonna put him in the B tier for now, below Aegislash, because Aegislash is a bit more stable of a level curve, or Tyranitar, like when he gets Tyranitar, he's good, but it's just such a struggle up until then, especially if you're getting steamrolled. Like, again, compare it to other Pokemon right here. Like, I'd much prefer to see Cerulege than the Tyranitar. Of course, they do different things, but still, the point still stands. Well, I think that's where we're going to put Tyranitar for now. Next up, we have Dragonite. Ooh, Dragonite. Dragonite is good at stealing objectives with Hyper Beam, has good movement, can rip really well with Outrage, but is it the same level as these guys? Because it takes a little while for him to get online, right? Dratini's fine, Dragonair's fine, but then when you get Outrage, when you get Dragonite, it's really good. Whereas in comparison to Garchomp, he kind of maintains that whole gimmick throughout the whole thing, right? Where like he gets his level 5 and he gets Dragon Rush and he can rip really well. Dragonite, you need to kind of wait until you get that next level. But I do think he's better than Aegislash, because he has these two different builds you can choose from. One is either a really good secure if you're able to do it well. He has a good Unite move for movement and jumping on their back lines. Like, I think I'll put him in the front of B tier for now. I think he's quite good, honestly. In comparison to other ones, like he's kind of equal to Garchomp in a sense, but I do think he is worse in relative aspects. But that's where I'd put Dragonite for now. Next up, we have Buzzwole. Buzzwole's been tossed around a lot. He did get buffs, so I do think Buzzwole is good, but I've always thought Buzzwole is good. The win rates that he has is not reflective of how good he actually is. It's very much a Glaceon situation, right? Glaceon is really, really good, but then people just don't play it right. And then it just gets a low win rate. It's like, play it correctly and you have a really solid mon. For here, I would honestly put Buzzwole in the B+ here. Buzzwole's really good. He has he's very good at single targeting Pokemon. Let's say there was let's put like Miraidon or something. You could very easily jump on that Miraidon, disable them, kill them, right? Smackdown, Superpower, Leech Life, however you want to go about it. He's very good at chasing. His Unite move is super good, but he is a very single target Pokemon because he focuses on one, kills them, then he moves on to the next one. Whereas like Pokemon with like Ceruledge, he can target whole crowds at once, right? Kind of the same thing with Garchomp, but yeah, like also the kind of same with Zarina, like Triple Axle can hit multiple people at once. Buzzwole is much more of a single target, but then with Superpower, you can move people, hit others with it, but same with Smackdown. But I think he sits right there. I think he's good in the B+ tier. Next up, we have Blaziken. Blaziken is super good. Blaziken is still really, really good. Like, there's the benefits and the downsides to having a Unite move like his, but it just means he is always consistent, right, with what he can do. It's not like you are a Tyranitar waiting for your Unite move to get back up so you can really dish out damage. Because Blaziken is just crazy. I might move these two up, actually. Do I think Blaziken's better than Ceruledge? Ceruledge gets, he evolves from Charcadet to Ceruledge at level 5, whereas Blaziken gets Blaze Kick at level 5, then he gets his Unite move at the standard level. Everyone else does, like, around level 9. I think Blaziken is good there for now. I do think Ceruledge can perform better because of the style of his Unite move too. Like if everyone's grouped up, he can just dish out so much damage. It's crazy. Blaziken's very good at dealing with squishier Pokemon as well, and like contesting a little bit with defenders and kind of getting in and out of a situation too. He's relatively good at with like a Fire Punch. But he's also very good at jumping on people with Blaze Kick Overheat. Overheat did get that damage nerf, but it still does crazy amounts of damage. Like, any of these attackers get caught by it, they die, right? So, I think Blaziken's good right there. Next up, we have Lucario. Ooh, Lucario's a good one, actually. Because I like Lucario. I have a lot of fun playing Lucario. He has two, like, very good builds. Either more of an assassin kind of build where he just, like, dishes a lot of damage to one person, but then close combat has good healing. He has good movement. Extreme speed feels a little bit situational at times because you need their whole team to be on top of each other, but he doesn't really have the defenses or healing from that to back it up in comparison to playing something like Blaziken or Ceruledge. But I do think Lucario is good. Let's put him... He's very good in lane early. That's also another thing to consider. I'm going to put Lucario there and put Tyranitar down in the B- tier. I think that's what I'm going to do. Is he better than Dragonite? I think he's more consistent than Dragonite, but then when he gets online, I'll put Lucario there between Dragonite and Aegislash in the B tier. I think that is a good spot for them right now. Next up, we have Gyarados. Gyarados is super solid. Gyarados is like right there, top of B+. Early, of course, he can struggle. He's Magikarp, but as soon as you get online with Gyarados, he can just rip and tear until it is done. Actually, he's going into amazing, honestly. Like, Gyarados is still really good. If I'm going to put him up there, I might put... Oh, that's tricky. That's tricky. I'll have to wait and see. Put them in amazing for now. But Gyarados is really good. He can just rip the opposing team so well. His Unite move is amazing for repositioning, and it has such a good throw too. He's just really, really good. Sure, if you jump on him, you can get the better of him, but I mean, like, if he has bounce and he has a lot of health when you jump on him, he can get out of the situation quite well. And if you jump on him with the Unite move, you practically just perish, really, especially if you're an attacker. Like, defenders, of course, they can like tank up against him, but if he's running like Dragon Breath, he just rips you with his basics. Yeah, I think Gyarados sits there for now. I don't think he's better than Blaziken in terms of utility, but Gyarados is very, very good. Next up, we have Mimikyu. I don't think you guys would be surprised. Mimikyu is insanely good, dude. Like, it's good in lane, it's good in jungle, it has such good movement, it can chase people so well if you aim correctly. Like, you Shadow Sneak any of these Pokemon here, they're saying their prayers, right? Like, they can't do anything against that. Kind of the same with Speedsters. You Shadow Sneak Leafeon, there's not much they can do unless they're goated and they can, like, really get out of the situation. But, like, not a lot of people can survive not a lot of Pokemon outside of defenders and maybe a select few all-rounders can survive being jumped on by Mimikyu. And like, its Unite move too, oh my god, it's so obnoxious, guys. And I know you all know this as well because you're watching this tier list and you play Pokemon Unite, so you've experienced Mimikyu. Like, man, Mimikyu is just insane. And like, the fact that they haven't nerfed it either is ridiculous. Honestly, I might put Cerulege up there as well. Because these two Pokemon do really good in lane, really good in jungle, have a lot of good movement, have a lot of good options as well. They can choose either the A build or B build. Like, Trick Room Mimikyu works really well on lane. Shadow Sneak works well in any sense. But yeah, these two Pokemon are top 2 and stupendous out of the all-arounders for now. But next up, we have Azumarill, this little bunny creature. Whereabouts does Azumarill sit? I'd say Azumarill kind of sits in this B realm, right? I prefer it over like Aegislash and Tyranitar, but it's kind of like a weird, I'm not going to say gimmick Pokemon, because it works really well on 1v1s, of course, and it does super well at pushing. Water Pulse Plus is really good. Aqua Tail's amazing. Its Unite move, again, is super good at chasing people down. Like, you Unite move a Decidueye, very little chance they're getting out of that. Same with, like, a lot of attackers here. But they just don't have a whole lot of movement, because they don't really have much of a dash. Like, a lot of these Pokemon here have a dash of some kind. Like, Mimikyu with Play Rough, that can be a dash. Cerulege, Flame Charge. Blaziken, Fire Punch. Bounce. Trop Kick. Dragon Rush. Buzzwole, not really. Like, Lunge, Dragon Dance, E-Speed, like there's not really much of a dash for Azumarill to get through walls and stuff for movement, but I do think it performs generally better than Aegislash and around the same as Lucario. So yeah, that's where Azumarill goes for now. Next up, we have Metagross. Metagross. He did get some buffs. He got a Meteor Mash buff, which is nice. Takes a little while for him to get online, but he doesn't really need to get online to be really, really good. Because when you get Metang and you do Gyro Ball, you can push lane so well. Kind of the same as Azumarill, honestly. But I would kind of put Azumarill higher, to be honest. Because Azumarill gets it at level 4, gets really oppressive where, like, with Metagross, you have to wait till you're level 5 in order to do that kind of stuff. Like, its Unite move's kind of mid, too, where Azumarill's is really good. And it has a very short cooldown. I mean, both of them do, but I think Azumarill outshines Metagross. I prefer to see over Aegislash, or do I? I feel like Metagross is generally better than Aegislash and Tyranitar in most situations, but kind of equal to Azumarill, I would say. But yeah, that's where Metagross is going to go. First, I'm going to take a quick sip of water because I've just been talking non-stop. Alrighty, next up we have Charizard. Charizard goes in the B+ right there. Charizard is super solid. Its Unite move is great. Yeah, its Unite move is great, honestly. Like, he works in the jungle. He's fine in the lane. I don't really like seeing him in lane. It's preferable to see him in jungle. But man, his Unite move is just... it's so good. Like, get people out of Unstoppable, deal so much damage, chase people super well. Like, Flamethrower, like, Fire Punch, all of his moves are, like, good at what they do. But of course, like, I would prefer to see, like, Gyarados or Blaziken or whatever have you. But Charizard's Unite move is crazy, crazy good. So he is going to go at the top of B+, because those nerfs did hit him a little bit in the gut. But not, like, to the extent where he fell from the throne to B, you know? Like... he went from, like, stupendous to B+, which is, like, still a bit of a drop, but he is still good. I think Charizard is still relatively good. Next up, we have the Bears. We have Single Strike and Rapid Strike. Single Strike is the king at getting objectives. He has Unstoppable. He's really tanky. He can do a lot. He has a good movement option. His Unite move is really good. It's kind of similar with, like, what Buzzwole kind of does. He's, like... good at targeting one person, especially with the Unite move. I would put him there because I feel as though a good Single Strike could outplay a Buzzwole very well, because like he goes into Unstoppable as well, so he can kind of counteract that, where Buzzwole doesn't really have an Unstoppable outside of his Unite move, but even then everyone can get freaking slow beamed or something. So considering all of that, I think Single Strike is around there because he's not really good at ripping objectives. Like, once he uses his move, he's not super helpful, and it has a relatively long cooldown. But if he were to move in and he were to do those things, he could be a really good asset because his basics still do damage. You know, any damage is good damage, unless it's to you, of course. But I think that's where he sits. Rapid Strike goes into the amazing tier. Rapid Strike is still really, really good. Flux Zone Warrior made his return a couple patches ago, and he's just decided to stay. Him in jungle is absurdly stupid still. I think I'd keep him there, honestly. Like, his damage is really good, but like Gyarados late game can still just tear up games. I actually feel Rapid Strike is kind of similar to, like, of course, a Single Strike and like Buzzwole in a manner where they're really, really good at chasing down one person. Well, not so much. Like, Single Strike isn't that amazing at doing it, but Rapid Strike is just, it is absurdly strong early. Doesn't really fall off near the end, but like near the end, you would kind of wish that you had something like a Gyarados or a Ceruledge, because his Unite move isn't that good, I would say, you know, like in comparison to these guys. Like, just you stop them, you stun the whole team, you switch between your moves, like, and then he just buffs himself and then he can target one person, like, but not to the extent of like Mimikyu, you know? Like, I think he goes there. I think that's a solid place to put him. Next up, we have Machamp. Now, if you watch my last tier list, which was a little while ago, you would know that I don't really like Machamp very much, but this is going to have very little personal bias to it. Machamp's Unite move change is very nice for a lot of things. I do think he sits around this mark here, like maybe above Lucario, maybe a little bit below. His early game's really good, his mid game's pretty alright. When he gets Machamp, if you do the Unite move well and you like position well enough in team fights, he can dish out a lot of damage, and he can be a very bbig threat. Like, comparing him to like all these other Pokemon here, I would prefer something like a Zarina, just because like cooldown, abilities, all that kind of stuff. They have a lot of movement. They can really dish out a lot of damage too. Machamp's kind of like dynamic punch, but then they have relatively long cooldowns as well. So it's like, I think he kind of sits around where Lucario is, maybe just below, better than Azumarill and Metagross, but I think he sits around there in the B tier. That's where I think he sits. Next up, Zacian. No question, stupendous. Zacian is so unbelievably good. Play him in path, play him in jungle, no matter where you go, he will be there and he will destroy you. All of his movesets are pretty good. Of course, I think Sacred Sword and Agility are the build to play with him. Just like the amount of movement speed that you get with Agility, and then if you're fighting, you maintain that. And then Sacred Sword with like the stuns and the huge damage, and then the fact that you can use Intrepid Sword too to get boosted versions of those moves, and then of course his Unite move as well that makes him unstoppable. He can reposition well with it, and then he can dish out a lot of damage too. He's also really good at securing with his Unite move. Like there's so much going on with Zacian that makes him so amazing, guys. Like he's not EX, but he's still EX, if you know what I mean, which is why I'm ranking him normally. But yeah, easy stupendous choice. Next up, we have Scizor. Scizor is... Scizor struggles a bit. He's better than Tyranitar. Not as... I don't think he's as good as Aegislash. Aegislash actually is tankier than Scizor. But I mean, like... He's kind of mid. He's just a bit mediocre. Again, not saying you can't perform well with him, all my beloved Scizor fans out there, but just in comparison, like he can't rip objectives very well. Sure, he can like chase people well, and he has like his Unite move that does a lot of damage, but he's because he can steamroll games. I have seen him steamroll games, but he needs to be fed so much in order to do that. Where it's like Azumarill. You can steamroll lane with Azumarill just by playing it in lane. Or you can steamroll lane with, like, again, Lucario or Urshifu or Garchomp just by playing them super well, you know? Whereas Scizor, you can do well, but again, it's that level 5. You kind of need to play him in jungle to play him at his best. Like, he's fine in lane because Scyther is good. Scyther is really good in lane. But, well, I mean, if that's where we're going to put Scizor, we can actually move on to the next Pokemon, Scyther, because both are very different in their own right. I think Scyther goes in the B tier. Above Aegislash, above Metagross, I think. He has crazy good movement. He's kind of like an honorary speedster, but he's still an all-rounder because he's type of Scizor. He is just... The buff that he got to dual wing beat was nice. He's always been relatively good, in my opinion. He's had a lot of movement. He can dish out a lot of damage. His Unite move is super good. Of course, he is really squishy. So if you get caught and you just die, right? You need to pick your fights carefully, but I've seen situations where like a Scyther can just like dominate a Buzzwole or just destroy a Gyarados in some senses, especially if you're fed well. Which is where that comes in again. It's that you kind of need them to be fed in order to get to that level that they are. Like, I do think the scaling for Scyther when he gets dual wing beat is better than when Scyther gets his bullet punch, because dual wing beat deals crazy amounts of damage. So if you like stack with this mon and you run like a crit build or something, it does crazy amounts of damage, especially with its basics. And then it just has a lot of good movement too outside of that. You land dual wing beat, you can dash around, you do like double hit or sword stance, you can move around a lot. Kind of the same with Scyther, but Scyther's just like Scizor. Scizor just kind of struggles a bit, you know? Like with Scyther, you can get in, get out relatively easily. Kind of the same with Scizor, but he's just a bit more difficult to move around with that kind of stuff because naturally he's a little bit slower, he's bulkier, but yeah, there's other Pokemon that do that, like, even better. Like, Garchomp kind of does the same thing, right? Where it's like you target the Pokemon that you kind of want to go for, and you just chase them, right? That's kind of what Scizor, oh my god, I'm getting it mixed up. Which one's right? Rock, paper, scissors. Oh. Garchomp and Scizor kind of do the same thing, where it's like they chase, they have a lot of sustain, they're really good at being tanky, which is why like Garchomp does it better. Hell, even Aegislash can do it better, which is why Scizor goes in the B- and Scyther goes there. For now, at least, when I start like comparing speedsters and stuff, he might fall down, he might not. We'll just have to wait and see. And last but not least, for our all-arounders, we have Mewtwo-X. Mewtwo-X is good, but not amazing. The reason for this is just because he's gotten so many nerfs in, like, he's a single stage evolution, which is nice for him. Like, he's good early, he's good late. When he gets his Unite move, it's really good at, like, chancing for a secure if you're really desperate, unless you're goaded and you do it every time. But he's good at chasing, he's good at, like, there's a lot of things he's good at, but there's a lot of Pokemon that kind of do that already at a better level. Like, all the Pokemon up here do what Mewtwo-X does, but better, you know, like outside of the Unite move, because that's the main thing, that's the difference. Honestly, one of the main reasons he's even up here is his Unite move. His Unite move is just, you get full vision on the team, you have a chance to secure objectives, like, it's a huge stun, it does good damage, his Unite move is just really, really good. Like, he is tanky. When he gets Mewtwo-X in lane, he can really push, but he's just kind of falling off a little bit, which is why I think he is around. Honestly, I might put Dragonite up here and put Mewtwo-X there. Honestly, I think that's what I'm gonna do. And there you have it. That is all of the all-rounders. Of course, there are like a little bit of changes, and there might be some more later, but that is generally my opinions on the all-arounders. But yeah, without further ado, we are going to move on to our defender category. And first up, we have Blastoise. Blastoise. I like Blastoise a lot. I think Blastoise, he's really tanky, has a lot of good CC options. Hydro Pump, Surf is really good. His Unite move is also really good. I think he's going to go in the B tier, purely because it takes a while for him to get online. He can struggle a little bit early, which isn't amazing. But once he gets his Unite move, Hydro Pump, Surf, he can push people around, be super annoying. And generally, I think that is where he stands. He's a super solid Pokemon. Next up, we have Slowbro. Slowbro, undeniably. I mean, come on. When has he ever left this tier? I mean, seriously think about it. When has Slowbro ever been bad? His Unite move is crazy. His move pool is super good. He can either, like, dish out a decent amount of damage to attackers and, like, make them deal less damage with Scald. He can do Surf, which can disable whole teams at once if you position it correctly, and the other team's all in one spot. Like, Telekinesis is also really good for like, he's so tanky as well. He's just such a good defender, and like, it's no surprise, right, that he's up here. Like, Slow Beam shuts down, like, Slow Beam, counter to all these Pokemon here, counter to every single one of these Pokemon. You do it, they're out of commission for that entire Unite move, which then can, like, lead the attackers to destroy one of them, you know? It goes through unstoppable. His Unite move is, like, insanely good. Slowbro is just stupendous in every manner. And I don't think I really need to explain that anymore. Next up, we have Snorlax. Snorlax is interesting. I say this about Pokemon that I'm not too sure where I should put them. I think I can maybe put him in B, maybe B+. Like, he is your standard everyday defender, right? He's tanky, he has good CC options, he has a Unite move that, like, makes him max health again. He's just, like, your staple, which is why I think he goes in B. Like, of course, you could go the Flail-X build, but, like, literally just play any other all-around. Literally play, like, Dragonite, play Garchomp, play Zacian, not Mewtwo, Mimikyu, like, just play any other of those Pokemon if you want to play that, because they're also tanky. But, like, Heavy Slam block is still good. But just a lot of Pokemon have just a lot of good movement, right? Darkrai can move around it, Gengar can jump over it, Talonflame can fly over it. Like, it's a good counter to certain Pokemon, kind of like Duraludon to, like, Gardevoir, Espeon, like Inteleon, all those kind of Pokemon. It's good at, like, pushing them away, which is good, because he is very good at making sure people don't get close to objectives when you're walling. But, I mean, like, Blastoise kind of does the same thing, but he can, like, push them away even further. Right? Like, Snorlax is more of a wall, where, like, Blastoise is more of a tsunami, where he can push a lot of people at once. Whereas like if you do block, people are just going to try and like walk around him, you know? With like Blastoise, he like pushes them, which is why I think I'm rambling. Snorlax goes in the B tier. Next up, we have Lapras. Lapras is, oh man, another tough choice. Like Lapras is good. Like, its Unite move is really good at repositioning as well as just like getting out of situations and like, you know, carrying Pokemon to team fights and stuff. And it's just generally a fun Pokemon. But I think I'd have to put it in maybe B+ below Blastoise. Like, it has no CC, really. Like, it has Bubble Beam, it has Ice Beam, but, like, outside of that, it's kind of like a weird mix of a defender and then, like, a supporter in a weird way. In a sense where, like, it's kind of similar to Eldegoss, if you think about it. Because it can deal good damage, right? Eldegoss deals a lot of good damage through its, like, basics and, like, its moves. But it can also heal a little bit. But not as much as, like, Clefable, who's, like, a dedicated healer, or, like, Hooper, or, like, or more, like, the dedicated healer, it really is comfy. But, I don't know, I think that's where Lapras sits. Like, it's tanky, it has good moves, it's good. Like, I don't think it's nowhere near, none of these guys are Slowbro level, but I think Lapras is good. Next up, Mamoswine. I love this dude. Mamoswine is awesome. Mamoswine is really good at single targets, really good early. His Unite move isn't really that good. It's good at, like, giving him a shield and, like, throwing people up if you do it well, but it's not amazing, but everything else this mon does is so unbelievably good and powerful and strong. Ice Fang deals crazy amounts of damage. Icicle, what is it called? Icicle Crash. Very good at like pushing on lane and stuff. He's really tanky. Run it with like Weakness Policy, Razor Claw, Attack Weight, and you can go crazy with damage. Like this might be a little bit of bias, maybe a little bit coming through, but I do think Mamoswine is an amazing choice. Like, he's really good early, right? Super good early. Huge stuns, very good basic attacks. Like, he does kind of fall off near the end, though. I'm going to leave him in amazing. That might be a little bit of bias, again, but I like him. I like him a lot. Next up, we have Goodra. Goodra goes in B above Snorlax. Goodra has a lot of survivability. It's really tanky, has a lot of sustain, but like it kind of falls off in the sense of like CC, I guess. Kind of similar to Lapras, honestly, in that kind of sense, the more I think about it. But like Lapras is a single stage, it doesn't really have any like moments where it's caught, or it's like if you can stay at Sliggoo for ages. I think that's where Goodra goes. Like, I like Goodra a lot. I really, really do. Goodra's really fun. But just in comparison to the other Pokemon I'm seeing, like, I don't know. I think Goodra kind of falls in the B tier. Oh well. Well, next up we have Trevenant. Trevenant's really good, amazing, really good CC, really tanky, good damage, decent Unite move. Kind of in the same realm as like Mamoswine. He's really good early, really good mid. Like he's, again, play all these in Path, please, for the love of God, play them in Path. Of course, you can like like Goodra and like Blastoise and like Mamoswine. They can work in Jungle, but like they're just better off in Path, just defending, you know. But yeah, I think Trevenant goes there. He's just super solid, super solid mon. Next up, we have Ho-Oh. Ho-Oh is good. Super tanky. Very good Unite move, of course. That's one of the main reasons he's up here. Again, no real CC, more of like a damage dealer. You kind of need to be a bit selfish with Ho-Oh and make it so that your team does die, so that way you can bring them back. It's a bit of a weird pull and tug, right? Or like give and take, but he doesn't really, he takes and then gives. Like, he's good at chasing, he has like Sky Attack, he has Fly, I think he's solid, maybe in the B+ tier, because I'm comparing it to the other ones, right, where it's like these guys just help them stay alive, while Ho is kind of dependent on the fact that they do die so we can bring them back. Like, if you're just steamrolling and your team doesn't really die, your Unite move's kind of wasted, right? Because you're not really using it for anything. which is why I think Hoa kind of sits there. I think he's alright. I think he's fine. Is he better than Blastoise? I don't think so. I think Blastoise is better, honestly. And next up we have Greedent. Greedent is a gimmick Pokemon. He is he C tier? I think he's in B minus. Like, comparing him to other defenders in their kind of roles. Like, if we take Greedent for what he is, I'd probably put him in B. But if we're treating him like a defender, I mean, maybe he's B then, right? If I'm treating him for the Pokemon he is he B? No, I think he's B minus. Like, he's really irritating. He can score really well. He can get in and out of situations with, like, stuffed cheeks and covert. More stuffed cheeks nowadays. He can deal good damage with, what do you call it? Bullet Seed, and, like, Covert Belch is still pretty good, but it's kind of like, it's a meh. It's a meh for me. So he's going to go in the B minus. Next up, we got Crustle, and I am so sad about the patch. Crustle got gutted with his Unite move specifically. Everything else that he kind of does is still within that same realm. But man, his Unite move just got absolutely gutted. Like, just the frequency in which you can do it, like, is just a lot worse now. I still think Crustle's good. I think he's better than Lapras. Probably not as good as Ho-Oh. No. Maybe he's better than Ho-Oh still. I still think Crustle's good. Before, I probably would have put him in Amazing. But I think that's roughly where Crustle sits. The nerfs kind of sucked, but I still think Crustle's good. Not as good as, like, Slowbro or anything, or Mamoswine, but yeah, I think that's where Crustle goes. Next up, Umbreon. I don't think this is coming as a surprise. I think Umbreon is a super solid Pokemon. Like, level 4, he gets Foul Play or Mean Look. Both are really good options. Then at, like, level 6, he can either be a bit of a support, or he can be more of a disabler. It's like, Umbreon is just good, man. Like, I don't really think I can say too much more about him. Like, Wish is crazy good healing. Snarl Foul Play is really good at disabling Pokemon. He's just good. Like, he's amazing, honestly. Like, yeah, no more to be said. I think we all know about Umbreon, right? But next up, we have, well, actually, that concludes the defenders. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Let me know if you think any defenders should be indifferent. But next up, we have the supporters. First up, we have Blissey. Blissey's super solid, very good at single target healing. Unite move is amazing, deals surprising damage when they run through people. Safeguard as well as Helping Hand got a buff, so that's always nice for the attackers and ADCs. But I think Blissey goes there. I think Blissey is solid. I don't think it's amazing, but I think it is a solid Pokemon. Next up, we got Hooper. Hooper is amazing. Hooper is really, really good. Hyperspace Hole, like, think about it more in a competitive setting where you're playing this on a team. Hooper is one of the best supporters in the game still. Just crazy repositioning, bringing the whole team to you, good damage, really good healing as well with Hyperspace Hole, good buffs to opposing to your team as well with, like, Trick and stuff. There's nothing that you can do with this Pokemon that makes it bad, which is why I think Hooper goes in the amazing tier. But yeah, next up we have Clefable. Clefable is better than Blissey and not as good as Hooper. Clefable is really good at team-wide healing, of course, with Moonlight. It's also really good disabler with Follow Me, especially with that little buff, like an additional 0.5 seconds, which can mean a lot. It can mean a lot. But I think Clefable is good. You can do crazy amounts of healing with it, similar to Blissey. But it's more team-wide. But yeah, I think that's where Clefable is. Gravity's still really good. Unite moves are also good. A bit of a gamble, of course, but yeah, I think that's where Clefable is. Comfey. Comfey is depressing right now. Comfey is... It's just not really doing as well as other supporters, honestly. Like, yeah, it's annoying. Yeah, Magical Leaf's annoying. Its Unite move is, like, fine. Its healing is fine. But, like, you would just kind of play Blissey. It's... Comfey is just not that great anymore. It used to be, like, it always makes good Pokemon better. Like, you can still... Might put it in B-. Like, you can latch it on to, like, one Pokemon the whole time, but, like, at least with Blissey, you can, like, soft boil one person, and then another, especially if you're going the Egg build, which can heal the whole team a decent amount. Like, Comfey is just so... I'm gonna say situational. Like, if you have one Pokemon that's clearly dominating the other team, then you kind of just latch onto that, and you just kind of, like, spam heal, you spam Magical Leaf, you do whatever you Comfeys do, and it's like, yeah... It's not really fun. It's not very... It's not as impactful as, like, a Hooper, you know? Like, a Hooper Unite move can bring everyone there. Comfey Unite move, everyone gets more healing. You, like, heal a little bit better with, like, one... It's like, you can keep one person alive, but then the rest of your team is suffering. Like, I prefer going Clefable, because then you can give your whole team the same level of healing, which makes it so everyone is in the game longer. But then, like, with Hooper, you can just get your whole team out of a situation, then straight back in, like, full healing for the entire team. Like, just Comfey in comparison to these other supporters just is not really holding up anymore. It used to be, like, amazing, and we all know, we all remember the days of Zacian and Comfey that was dominating the meta. But it just... Comfey's just been falling off. Honestly, it's... Yeah, that's where I think Comfey sits. Anyway, that's where Comfey sits. Next up, we have Eldegoss. Eldegoss is nice. Eldegoss is very, very good. Top of the B+. Really, really good healing, really good damage. It's more of a Warlock, where it can both deal damage and heal. Super nice. I won't say it might be worse than Clefable in terms of healing. But it's Unite move, though. I think that's where Eldegoss goes. It's been super solid for ages. It keeps getting, like, a little bit of nerfs here and there, but I still think Eldegoss is very good for a supporter. Next up, we have Mr. Mime. Mr. Mime is... Mr. Mime is interesting, because he's a disabler, right? He doesn't heal outside of, like, Power Swap. I might put him in here, above Blissey. Reason for that, he is a very good, like, honorary defender, in the sense that he's both tanky, he can push people around, he can do crazy stuns. Yeah, I don't really feel like that needs too much more of an explanation. We all kind of know Mr. Mime. We all know all these Pokemon, but yeah, I think Mr. Mime goes there. Sableye goes in the B tier. Sableye is... Oh, what does he? Does he go in the B tier? Like, in lane, he's, like, there. In lane, he's, like, amazing. But just generally speaking, I think he goes in the B tier. Like, he's annoying. He can deal some decent damage with, like, Confuse Ray and just, like, a feint attack and stuff, but he's not amazing. So that's where I think Sableye gets put. Next up, we have Wigglytuff. Wigglytuff is... I'm honestly gonna put Wigglytuff in the amazing tier. Or am I? Am I overhyping Wigglytuff right now? Let me process this real quick. I might put Eldegoss in amazing, and then put Wigglytuff there. Man, that's tough, actually. Because Wigglytuff's, again, the same kind of role as, like, Mr. Mime. It's, like, super... what do you call it? It's very... What's the term? So Wigglytuff is a disabler, right? Like, very... Disruptor, sorry. Very similar to Mr. Mime, which is why I think they kind of, like, sit in the same realm. Its Unite move's very good. Very good at being unstoppable. It's a good counter to, like, Rule Edge's Unite move, but, like, outside of that... I might put it there. Might put Wiggly there. Yeah, that looks good to me. Yeah, so Wiggly sits right there pleasantly in the B+ here. Next up, we have Psyduck. No one should be surprised. Psyduck is crazy. Disable is insane. Its Unite move is crazy. It's just the state it goes into. Like, the mysterious power state is absurd. You get so much invulnerability. You get, like, a movement speed increase as well. The increase to your... moves as well is crazy. Like, oh, I don't even think I need to, like, fully explain this. Like, Psyduck is just ridiculous. He is by far, like, he is a disruptor, but my god is he annoying. He's so good. Disable's crazy good, Psychic is good. There's no bad build with him, but Disable Surf is by far, like, the best build that you can do with him. Surf is crazy good. Disable is just ridiculous. Even with the nerfs, I still think Psyduck is up there, which is like, boo, crazy. But yeah, that's the supporters. I don't think many of you would be surprised by many of these placements, like especially Psyduck, Hoopa. Kofi might be a little bit surprising to some people, but that's just what I think. But yeah, that's the supporters done. So next up, we have the second biggest list in the game, the attackers. Now, first up, we have Cram. Cram is dummy good. Cram is so fun. Cram has like good dive. He has surf. His Unite move is fun. I think he's a solid Pokemon, honestly. Like, he's probably been around this A, B+ tier for quite a while. Yeah, did he get a buff or a nerf in the patch? I can't remember. Regardless, I still think he's really good. He might go in the B+, but I'll put him in amazing for now because I like him quite a bit. Next up, we have Decidueye. Decidueye goes in the B+ tier, maybe even the B tier. ADCs are kind of falling off as of right now. Like, again, not saying you can't perform well with them. The defense buff to Decidueye was nice, though. It's like Razor Leaf is a bit more practical. It kind of feels like you can actually pivot from one build to the other now instead of always having to choose Snipe Shot. So I might put Decidueye in... Let's compare to the other Pokemon right now. I think he belongs in the B tier, honestly. Like, Snipe Shot is... Not Snipe Shot. God, I'm thinking of Inteleon. Get out of here. Woo! Get out of here. Yeah, I think Decidueye is maybe B+, maybe B. Nah, I think B. Comparing him to the other Pokemon there and just... Yeah, we'll put him there for now, but we'll have to wait and see. Delphox is B+. Delphox is really good. Like, just, its Unite move, its amount of CC from Fire Spin, the amount of burst damage it can do. Like, I think Delphox is just a super solid Pokemon. It did get some buffs as well, like Flame Charge is better now, just an extra bit of movement speed for a little bit longer. Yeah, I think Delphox is super solid. Next up, we have Dragapult. Dragapult is really, really, really good, in my opinion. Have to play him right. If you get your stacks on Phantom Force, he goes crazy. He's very good at chasing. His Unite move is, again, similar to almost the exact same as Blaziken. It's just another move. So you just get a third move that you get to do, which is, like, it gives you the crazy good aura you get for using your Unite move. It has good burst damage. It's... I just think Dragapult's really good. Next up, we have Espeon. Espeon is fine. I don't think it's amazing. Again, good burst damage, a fine Unite, but like a squishy Pokemon shouldn't really be inside of a fight, especially a ranged Pokemon like Espeon. You're meant to be like more in the outlines, kind of waiting for good opportunities to either stun or like use stored power or whatever floats your boat. But I think Espeon kind of sits around there. Not Delphox level, but it is an evolution. It is an evolution. I think it's probably better than Decidueye in a sense, because it's better in lane, has good burst damage, or maybe it isn't. I'm not sure. I'll put Espeon there for now, but we'll have to wait and see. Gardevoir. Gardevoir is super good. Unite move is still crazy good. Like one of the shortest cooldowns in the game. It's like Moonblast, Psyshock is still like crazy good. Really good at pushing lanes. No matter what build you play, honestly. Like Future Sight, if you do well, can deal really good burst damage. But yeah, I think Gardevoir's in the B+, maybe top of B. I'll put him in the top of B for now, but we'll just have to wait and see. Greninja goes above Espeon, maybe above Decidueye, maybe. But does it? Greninja's a tough one. Because Greninja's good, don't get me wrong. Its Unite move cooldown that it got a while ago is nice. But, man. It's tough. This is a toughie. I might put Greninja in the B- for now. And my thought process in this is that in lane, he's not amazing. You need to play him in jungle. Whereas like I look at the rest of these Pokemon here, right? And I think to myself, can this be played in lane? The answer is yes. All of these Pokemon attackers up here can be played in lane and do well. Decidueye might be a little bit of a stretch, but I do think Decidueye can perform better in lane than Froakie. So I think, because he needs to be fed, right, Greninja? But when he gets his Unite move, he can be really well. B-. I'm going to put him in B- for now. Next up, we have Inteleon. Inteleon is in the B+ tier, I think. The changes to Felstinger, was very, very good for him, especially alongside the special defense increase. That tied in with acrobatics buffs. I think he is certainly better. Like, again, like, I've played a lot of these Pokemon since the patch came out. Of course, I would have had to if I'm going to be making a tier list like this. But I've tried many other builds with Inteleon, and none of them really undermined it or, like, underperformed, in my opinion. So I think Inteleon kind of sits around... Actually, I'm going to move Gardevoir up and put Inteleon at the top of B tier. That's what I think, because Gardevoir's Unite move is very good. Same with Inteleon, but Inteleon is a bit more... He doesn't, like, have any stuns or anything, whereas, like, all these Pokemon here either have a stun of some kind or can get out of the situation super easy. Like, these Pokemon can kind of get jumped. Like, Greninja is just, like... Maybe I'll put Greninja in B. I'll put Greninja in B, actually. Like, a lot of the Pokemon there can get jumped, which they can just kind of die. Greninja... Like, all these Pokemon are super squishy, right? They're attackers. But yeah, Gardevoir has really big stuns, is very good from afar. Inteleon's the same. He's a bit harder to play Snipe Shot. But Liquidation Acrobatics is a nice buff. The damage still isn't like amazing, but it is very good at like getting rid of like Greninjas or like any other attackers or any squishy all-rounders like Azumarill. It's good at doing that. But yeah, that's where I think it goes. Chandelure. Chandelure got special defense buffs. I think Chandelure sits in the B. Oh, do I? I might move Inteleon up, and I'll move Chandelure down, actually. I think Chandelure has one of the highest special attacks in the game, and is really, really good at doing a lot of burst damage. Overheat is still really good. Flamethrower is nice. Its Unite move is weird, but still can be very, very good. Especially good at, like, getting objectives, too. Like, blocking all their vision, using it on the objective, you can get it. It's a bit of a risky play, but it can work. Just the defense increase is nice. Again, he struggles from really not having much movement, because his whole thing is being from far away. So I might put him there, actually. I think Greninja... is Greninja? Yeah, I'll put Greninja there. Espeon's not... Yeah, okay, yeah. Sorry, my brain is going everywhere. That's where I think Chandelure goes, at the bottom of B tier right now. But we'll have to wait and see if that stays. Pikachu. Pikachu is amazing. Pikachu is a really, really solid choice. Really good in lane, really good Unite move. So annoying. Like, Volt Tackle, Electro Ball is, like, the bane of every attacker's existence, right? Do that to a Decidueye, dead. Do it to a Chandelure, dead. Do it to, like, all these other Pokemon, dead. Graveyard of just all these Pokemon that are just, oh my gosh. But, yeah, I think that's where Pikachu goes. Yeah, the nerfs hit him a little bit a while ago, but still. They didn't nerf his Unite move, and his Unite move is, like, crazy good now. But that's where I think it goes. Next up, we have Cinderace. I think Cinderace is better than Chandelure. Probably... man, it's just because I like ADCs as well. Like, I've seen them perform super well. Again, like, this is solo queue, right? But, or is it? Yeah, I don't know. It's just a tier list. Get over it. I'm actually not too sure where to put Cinderace. We might have to start moving people down to the B-, actually. Might move Espeon down. Might move Greninja. I just like ADCs. Anyway, I think that's where I can put... I think that's a good place to put Cinderace for now. Next up we have Mewtwo-Y. Mewtwo-Y is good. Mewtwo-Y is very, very good. Pokemon that doesn't evolve. Very good ADC. Actually, I might put him at the top of B+, just comparing him to the other Pokemon there. Again, like, Unite move is really good. Just super solid Pokemon overall. Those buffs that were completely unnecessary that he got are, like, good as well. And then they nerfed Mewtwo X for God knows why. But, yeah, I think that's where Mewtwo Y goes. Nothing much else. Mew. Mew played at an amazing level is stupendous. Mew is very, very good. Damage can feel a little bit lackluster at times, but you just gotta play it well, right? Like, switching between all the different moves in certain circumstances, like, it's just such a good mon for utility purposes. And that's why I think it goes into stupendous, because all of its moves have a very good purpose. It can push people, it can deal a lot of damage from afar, it can do very good secures, it can assist the team, give them shields. Like, there's just a lot that Mew can do that, like, other attackers just can't. Because, like, comparing it to, like, other special attackers, like, you look at Delphox, it's like, oh, I'm gonna get CC'd. I'm gonna get stuck in a vortex of fiery death. And then there's Mew. It's like, am I gonna get surfed? Am I gonna get solar beam? Am I gonna get pushed by light screen? Am I, like, all these other things that go through your mind, right? Which is why I think Mew is a very, very stupendous choice. Next up we have Miraidon. Very same. Miraidon is probably the best special attacker in the game. You can switch between, like, either a very good long range build, or you can be more of like a speedster where you can, like, move around and zip around the map and just dominate the opposing team. Like, Miraidon is by far the best special attacker in the game. No, I'm not taking questions. That is definitive. Next up we have Ninetales. I think Ninetales sits around there, same as our girlies here with Delphox and Gardevoir. Like, just Ninetales in general. Very good CC, good with Blizzard, good with Avalanche. Just a very solid pick. Very, very good in lane. Can get jumped on very easily by, like, if Miraidon's there, Pikachu, Dragapult, all of them can just kind of destroy them. If they get jumped on, of course, much like any other Pokemon. But it's good at CC. It's a good mix of damage and CC in one Pokemon. I'm saying CC so much. Like the brand of chips. Next up, we have Sylveon. I think Sylveon's are in that B tier. Probably better than Inteleon. The nerfs hit it a little bit. Has better defense now, but I don't think it's amazing. It's not amazing, no, but it is good. I would say it's better than some of these Pokemon down here, honestly. Next up we have Glaceon. This may be biased. Glaceon's amazing. You just have to play it well, honestly. Like, its ability is super good. Its damage output is crazy. It has a sure hit where you can move away. Its Unite move is really good at just placing in one spot and damage over time, and you get more Icicle Spears. So you can either set it up as your own little base, so you can keep sending off Icicle Spears, or you can send it out to hinder people and really push on lane. It's such a good Pokemon, guys. Like, just play it well. Next up we have Venusaur. Venusaur Solar Beam is top of the B+ tier. Actually, I might move it to Amazing. That seems like it's getting a little bit crowded though now. I'm gonna put it at the top of B+. The Giga Drain buff was nice. The damage reduction when you're using it is good. Petal Blizzard, or Petal Dance, not Petal Blizzard. Petal Dance is also really, like, both builds are good. They both fulfill different things. So you can kind of play them into any game and then base around what the other opposing team is choosing. You can kind of, like, not switch back and forth. You can choose the A or B. Whereas, like, Pokemon, like, let's say, Espeon, it's kind of like, the Psyshock is just better. You just need better aim. Or you just need good aim if you're going to perform well with it. It's like, these Pokemon here are flexible within a match, I feel. So I might move Inteleon down. I might put Cinder. I don't like doing that. I don't like doing that because I like Cinder, but Cinder is just kind of like hold A. I do think Cinder's good. I like him, but just comparing him to the rest, it's like, man. Man, oh man, oh man. I think that's a good place to put Glaceon in comparison to the rest. And then Venusaur. Venusaur. I think Venusaur goes here. I think he's very good. Maybe below? No. Maybe? Yes? He's more flexible than Mewtwo I think. Oh, is he? No. No, he is, because he's not an ADC. ADCs aren't very flexible, which is why there's only like one up in the amazing. And the rest are kind of down here. Like, because Cinder's not very flexible. Because, like, if you have, like, a Mariah... Like, you'd prefer Pokemon like Dracopult, like Miraidon. Like, you'd want, like... A good team would be, like, Miraidon, Dracopult, Slowbro, Hoopa, and then, like, something like Mimikyu or something. I think that's a relatively balanced team. Despite the fact that... Like, you only have one defender, but, I mean, that's just good. There's just no real room for Cinder on, like, good teams right now, I don't think. Again, he's good in solo queue. He's good at, like, you know, being Cinder and holding down the A button. But this is still talking about Venusaur placement. I think Venusaur goes well there. And last but not least for the attackers, we have Duraludon. Duraludon is the most basic thing you can ever be. He goes, like, straight at the bottom of the B tier. He's good at ripping objectives. That's kind of like his main shtick, honestly. That's his gimmick. That's what he does. He's just a shredder for objectives. Like, he just shreds Rayquaza. But, like, yeah, I think that's good placement. Yeah, alright, well, that's the attackers done. Of course, Miraidon and Mew at the top. I don't think many people are going to be surprised by that placement. Specifically Miraidon. Maybe Mew. Maybe Mew's a bit of a surprise. But, hey, that's just what I think. Let me know what you think about the attacker placements in the comments below as we move on to our final roles, the Speedsters. First up, we have Leafeon. Leafeon is stupendous. Leafeon has crazy good early game. Can be played in lane. Can be played in jungle. Preferably jungle. Very good movement, very good Unite move, extremely good burst damage, good confirms, just generally very, very good Pokemon. Next up we have Meowscarada. I think Meowscarada sits around the B+. Its Unite move is good, has good movement. You play it in jungle, but it doesn't get its first move until level 6, I think, maybe level 7, I might be wrong. So, like, Leafeon just gets online a lot faster, Meowscarada not so much. But yeah, I think that's roughly where Meowscarada sits, because it can either shred objectives really well, or it can, like, dive into the backline of the opposing team quite well. But it takes a little bit more effort with Meowscarada to be really good, whereas, like, Leafeon's a bit more effortlessly good, which is why Meowscarada's in the B+, and Leafeon's in Stupendous. Next up, we have Zeraora. Zeraora is in the same category as Meowscarada, but I think it is more consistent. It has a good Unite move, it has good basics, it has good in and out tools. The shield increase to discharge as well is pretty nice. So I think Zeraora sits around the same place as Meowscarada. I don't think they're kind of the same, honestly, in terms of how good they are. So treat them as equal, right? That's what I would say. But yeah, next up we have Zoroark. I think Zoroark is a very, very good choice. Either build can do really well. Of course, Feint Attack is extremely good. Playing it in both Path and in Jungle are very solid choices. Because, like, you get your stacks with Zoroark and you can just destroy. I feel like that saying goes for, like, half of the Pokemon on this list as well. But that's where I think Zoroark sits. Yeah. Next up we have Dodrio. Dodrio buffs were nice. I think he sits at the top of B+. There's still some things that he can struggle with, but when Dodrio can pop off, though, is the thing. Maybe he's bottom of Amazing. The agility buff was nice, but jump kick positioning is still really good. Ooh, this is tough, actually. I think Dodrio is in the B+ tier, top of B+. And that's just because, like a lot of species, he's just super frail. He has very long cooldowns on what he does, too. So it's kind of like you get in and then you just immediately get out. But he can get caught by some Pokemon, which is, like, a little bit rough. Like, kind of the same with Zoroark, honestly. But Zoroark just has such low cooldowns that he can get in, get out really quickly, and then he can just keep repeating. Whereas Dodrio, you need to, like, be inactive for, like, 7 seconds before you do anything again. Which is rough. Which is very, very rough. But I do think it's better than Meowscarada and Zeraora because it can push the whole team, deal a lot of damage, jump kick, very good at running in. Its Unite move is also really good for repositioning, which is why I think it's better than these two. Next up, we have Darkrai. Shouldn't be a surprise. Darkrai's busted. Darkrai. Honestly, I don't think I need to explain anymore. You all know Darkrai. He's like the most banned Pokemon of freaking all time in in Master Rank and draft games, so I don't think I need to explain that anymore. Next up, we have Talonflame. Talonflame is better than Dodrio, I think, so he sits around there. Very good movement, very good confirms, like with fly and stuff. Very, very solid mon. Is a 3-stage evolution, which can hurt a little, but I think he's good. The Brave Bird buffs were nice with the damage reduction. He can be very, very good, I think. Next up, we have Absol. I think Absol's kind of in that B tier realm. Like, you can't really play it in Path. You need to play it in Jungle. You get your first move and you can dominate, but I don't know. Like, it's just kind of a lackluster speedster in comparison to the rest nowadays, I think. Like, again, not saying you can't perform well with it, but I kind of think that's where Absol sits right now, kind of in this little area here. Next up, we have Gengar. I think Gengar is good. I would put him there. I think Gengar deserves to be there. He's super solid, very good speedster, 3-stage evolution. Of course, gonna hurt a little, but just like scaling wise, early he's not amazing. He gets Haunter, he's a bit better. Gengar, he can shred teams, but again, he can just get caught super easily by doing anything that he wants to do, which is why I think he kind of goes in the B+. Like, the healing buff that he gets is nice, but that he got was nice, but yeah, I think he sits around the B+ tier. And now, for the piece of resistance, we need to choose a king. We need to choose who sits on the throne above the rest. And looking at all of these Pokemon, I genuinely think our king of this patch is Psyduck. Like, Psyduck is just ridiculous, right? He is also one of the most banned Pokemon that we are seeing currently. Like, the top 3 bans, I think, are like Miraidon, Darkrai, and Psyduck, I believe. Could be wrong. I'll check it up on screen, just for some more proof. But Psyduck is just crazy. He's this little quacked out guy that is like, just the amount of stuff that he does is crazy. Like, his Unite move is crazy. When he goes into his headache state, he is ballistic. He can get out of so much for free. He is absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, that's the tier list. Let me just double check and make sure I haven't missed any Pokemon this time. Okay, no, that's all of them. We're all good. But that is my tier list for this current season, right before Tinkaton comes out, which will actually be later tonight. Or, by the time of uploading this, Tinkaton could be out. I'm not too sure. I still need to go through and edit. But thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the tier list. If you have any objections to this tier list, let me know down in the comments below, and let me know what you think. If any Pokemon should be higher, any Pokemon should be lower, I would love to read it in the comments. And honestly, for the first time, we don't really have any Pokemon in the Don't You Dare. Like, I don't think there's many Pokemon that I would hate to see now, which is honestly pretty nice. So yeah, that's the tier list for today. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, I'll see you in the next one, and don't forget to stay hydrated.